Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today will be a little bit of a special that I wanted to do after what we recorded Where Are You back in a long time ago, but we never got around to it. So since coming around Christmas time, I decided it would be the perfect time to start doing those kinds of things, and we will be doing them for the Scooby-Doo show as well. But for now, it's the Where Are You tier ranking. And I'm in my fairy tale jacket because it's that time of year in Texas where it's 2 weeks of cold before it gets hot again. So just wearing a jacket just for fun. And then in this tier ranking, we will be going through the first two seasons, or the only two seasons of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? So I have my rankings right here. Basically, we're going to go S through F, so good old-fashioned style. I do my ratings in numbers, and then I have like little notes like first double team villain for which is which, that kind of thing. But we're going to just basically do a brief overview of the show. It's going to be a bit of a long one just because I want to make it my quintessential and so on. Spoilers, there will definitely be some that nobody agrees with me or everybody agrees with me. Just depends because everybody has different interests in what they think they like. Just to give you a brief overview of the show itself, Where Are You was the result of CBS and Hanna-Barbera's plans to create a non-violent Saturday morning program, which would appease the parent watch groups that had protested the superhero-based program to the mid-1960s. That's where Scooby-Doo came around with Joe Ruby and Ken Spears that were the story supervisors. And then you got the Mystery Machine, the Mystery Gang themselves. So yeah, so of course has a huge legacy. And I was so excited whenever I had the time to react to the Scooby-Doo episodes. They were so fun. So I think we're just going to get right into it. Just keep it nice and simple. Don't want to go too deep into it. But it's been around for a while, and hopefully we'll stay around for that long too. So, starting us off, we'll just go down the line. What a Night for a Night. First episode of Scooby-Doo, technically the pilot, had a few differences between Scooby, how they are going to do for later on, but it had the main points there. Like, Shaggy was super energetic and, like, flexible, like, flying into the roof, which you'll see my reaction. And Fred was never named in What a Night for a Night, which is kind of interesting. And also, the Mystery Machine felt a lot bigger with like all the tools and stuff like that. I just feel like they just extra animated it. So just to give you a premise, just so you can refresh, everybody knows. When Scooby and Shaggy find an abandoned pickup truck with a knight's armor in the front seat, the gang delivered to the museum and places the missing professor. However, this Black Knight is said to come alive every full moon. As the gang investigates the night, they realize that it is a full moon, and the night has come alive. I rated it in my initial reaction a 6 out of 10. I think for me personally, it's the pilot. They're still coming to terms with things, and they're still, building up the gang interactions and how they want things to go and how they want the future of the series to go. And so that's why it's a fun episode for me, but it's also not my favorite episode, which is why I think I'm going to put it in B. It's the quintessential Scooby-Doo episode when you think of Scooby-Doo because it's the very first episode, but it really needs to come along for itself. I would probably put it low A, depending on what I put in A later, but for me, top B would be the best bet at the moment because it just still come to terms with itself is kind of the main thing I'm going towards. Because there's not a lot of... I like the gang interactions. I like the comedy. I like just the everything. But it just still... It's getting there, but it still needs a little bit more juice, as you will. And that brings us to the next one. One of my favorite episodes. One that I think is definitely going to be A, maybe even S, depending on what I put in S. But A Clue for Scooby-Doo. The second episode of the series. And one of my favorites. My brother even dressed it up like Halloween, this Halloween. So the premise, at Rocky Point Beach, the gang encounters the ghost of an old sea diver, Captain Cutler. A sailor claims that it's the ghost of Captain Cutler, who according to legend died at sea many years ago when his boat got wrecked and now wants revenge. Fantastic episode. It felt like it really came together. That's why it builds off of What a Night for a Night in a nice way, because you can see where they made changes and where they kept things going to really cement the gang's interactions. We had some weird food items in this second ever episode. We just everybody felt more like characters this time, which is what I really liked and why I like it more than What a Night for a Night, because it's building off what we had last week with that first episode, which is why it's in A tier. And we also rated that one a 6.5 out of 10 on the initial reaction. So not really following the letters to the numbers. I'm just letting you guys know. And that also next, Hassle in the Castle. So this one didn't really do it for me at the time of recording. It just kind of one of those episodes where, let me just get right in the premise. After getting lost in the fog, the game arrives on Haunted Isle, where they meet an unearthly ghost haunting in an old abandoned castle. I just feel like the Phantom was a little bit of a basic ghost. I did like the way the magician did things. Like it was definitely a quintessential where they used like their own gadgets and their own technology to make things happen. But still just a bit of a basic one that didn't really do that much for me because of the way that it was just kind of set up. But I like that he was a magician because it kind of made sense to all the stuff he was doing. Everybody else later on, they have all this weird, wacky stuff and they're just, a dog walker or something like that. Not to put down dog walkers, but something like that. They're just kind of funny. Definitely had some funny moments with this one, like at the ending with Scooby and the Gopher. But for me, just didn't really do it at all for me. So I'm going to give this one a C. That one will probably get pushed down in C tier just because I wanted it a little bit more pizzazz, I guess you could say. But it was definitely a fun one. All right. And then the fourth episode. Oh, and just, Hassle in the Castle, I did a 5 out of 10 in the initial reaction. And then the next one, Mind Your Own Business, which I rated a 6 out of 10 during my initial findings reaction. This one was a little bit more fun compared to the last week's of Hassle in the Castle because one of the more popular villains from the show, also another one from Monsters Unleashed, which is pretty cool. The gang get lost in the desert and end up in Gold City, spooky ghost town. They check into a desert inn where the owner explains that everybody has been scared off by the miner 49er. They wind up in another mystery involving an abandoned gold mine and a ghostly moaning miner. So this one was a little bit more fun. Still had a little bit of hit or miss moments for me, but still pretty interesting episode. I did like the miner 49er and the kind of comedy and just the different moments between the gang that really cemented the series itself. And that's why it's the way that they did the trap and the way the gang interacted, like let's do this, all right, let's do this thing, was really a good touch and really slowly bring itself into its own as a series of building off of the previous 3 episodes, which is why I really like it and why it's one of my probably going to be in B tier, even though it's a 6 out of 10, but I think that's just the way the rankings are going. Overall enjoyment, and I like people like creepy. So the way that people rank Scooby-Doo usually is creepiness, ingenuity of the villains or the gang themselves, gang interactions, and the scariness of the villain. For me, I usually weight the gang interactions, the comedy. My dog's freaking out under me. He's so excited. He's playing with the cat. Yeah, so I usually weigh gang interactions, comedy, and overall feeling of the episode, like ambiance kind of thing. So that's why, for me, I'm going to rate them a little bit differently because I just think it's fun when the gangs interact and just have fun together, that kind of thing. Which is why later down the line, when I do my next tier reaction, there's going to be a lot of varying rankings for the Scooby-Doo show, especially just because I've enjoyed a lot of them. So that'll be a fun one to do. So back to Mind Your Own Business. It's going to be in B tier. Second, so we'll call this B2 tier. So What a Night for Night's still number 1. But if anything, I can just push them ahead if I feel like I enjoyed that one more. Going in order, it'll probably be like that in order where there's not going to be anything really that I like the most out of them. But for now, that's just how it is. And let's go right into the next one. DK4 Dognapper. So this one really kind of brought me out of it for the show itself. I did love the Shaggy and Scooby stuff. They were really fun together. But everything else about this episode was just a bit strange, and I just didn't really care for it. So when Mystery Inc. hears about a series of dog nappings, they investigate using Scooby as a decoy for another dog. When he gets dognapped, the gang tracks him to a secret hideout in the desert where they face a witch doctor and a ghostly Indian on horseback. Yeah, so this one was just a bit weird. Of course it is a bit kind of Buckmasters would have been canceled by now. And then just the princess kind of side plot with Scooby and her. I just didn't care for this one. I rated a 5 out of 10 at the initial reactions, but I think I would probably put this one in D, maybe low D. It just a very forgettable episode is basically how I would describe it as, where Shaggy, Scooby were fun, and I did like that Shaggy got his first Scooby snack in this episode, which was really cool. I remember that because that was pretty much the only thing that really remember from this episode is that Shaggy got his first one. So that's just kind of maybe D, maybe F. I think D for now. I don't want to put anything in F just yet. All right, and then now we got What the Heck's Going On, an episode that I really did enjoy. And that one I rated a 7 out of 10. So that's my highest ratings so far for the Scooby-Doo Where Are You? And in this episode, let me just get the premise. Mr. Ink is headed to their friend Sharon Weatherby's estate. When they arrive, Sharon's Uncle Stuart disappears. When they find him, he says he was beckoned by the voice of the ghost of Elias Kingston from the Kingston mansion. The gang find themselves wrapped up in the tangle of the spooky ghoul of Elias Kingston, who wants the family treasure. So this was a fun one because it's kind of like a murder mystery kind of style thing where you go to a rich estate. There's like 3 suspects. There's your uncle, your cousin, who was way too friendly, and then another guy. A little fun moment. Of course, the villain reveal was really dumb where he crashed and then flew away, and then he came back in as like, ooh, I'm Stuart. It's like, dog, you just faked your own death and then you came back like you're a ghost already, but nah. So I think that's why it's one that I really enjoyed because just had a lot of cool moments with the gang. The villain reveal at the end was a bit boring and basic, but for me, it's still a fun episode that I really did enjoy. But I think honestly, What the Heck's Going On? I think it's going to be right in the middle of these two because I don't think it's as good as A Clue for Scooby-Doo. So I think it would put maybe ahead of What a Night for a Night, I think, in B. Because I think this one, B1, B2, B3, and then Clue for Scooby-Doo was just really strong for me. I just feel like Clue for Scooby-Doo is what I think of more when I think of Scooby-Doo compared to What a Night for a Night. That's just my personal opinion. I just feel like Captain Keller was like the quintessential villain because episode 2, that's also when the gang really brings himself together. Talking about that episode again, but What the Heck's Going On, I think, for me, is high B, even though it was a 7 out of 10, just because of the villain reveal at the end. But all the other moments in the episode were fun, like the comedy in it. It was just a good one. All right, and the next episode, Never Ape an Eight Man. So this one is a lot of people don't like this one when we really do their rankings. For me personally, I did enjoy it. It was a bit different. People don't like that it's different, but I like that it was different. This is the one where the gang takes the jobs as extras on the set of Daphne's uncle John Maxwell's movie set of The Eight Man of Forbidden Mountain. However, a real Eight Man has been sabotaging the movie, and Mr. Ink need to catch this ape before he causes filming to end permanently. Yeah. Oh, I just thought about it. Let me put What the Heck's Going On A2, because if I enjoyed it, then I enjoyed it. It's not going to be S because of the villain reveal at the end, but I liked everything else about that episode. Okay. This is supposed to be my quintessential one. Don't just go with your gut. All right. So this one is about Carl the Eight Man, and a lot of people don't like this episode, but I enjoyed it, even though it was kind of like a basic one that people didn't care for because of the way that it was revealed, and that Shaggy found a picture of the Eight Man in the mirror without the mask, and that's when he gets caught basically by Shaggy. But before Shaggy can do anything about it, he leaves, and just the overall appearance of the Eight Man and how Carl is in the episode and that kind of thing. So that's why it's a really disliked episode, but I enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's not my favorite, but it's not the worst episode for me for the Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Which is why I kind of like the differences compared to the previous 2, 4, 5, 6 episodes of the show. It was a fun little breath of fresh air kind of style. So let me just read down the formula it broke just because I have it down. Scooby shows a rare amount of courage when he both runs across the bridge to challenge the Eight Man and then manages to win a verbal fight against him. Daphne sets up a trap, but Fred's the one to fall victim. Carl's costume is surprisingly his own, another first in the series. He was supposed to be the Eight Man in the movie, but it turns out he was pretending to be a real Eight Man while disguised as one. Then the villain is not unmasked in the episode, but revealed through a photograph. And the villain didn't dress up as a monster to do any criminal acts like stealing or trespassing. He did it simply out of revenge for not getting the lead role in a movie. And also the second episode without the Mystery Machine. And production-wise, the first appearance of a Shaggy Snack. Oh, yeah, but still a regular Scooby Snack, that Shaggy Snack. Okay. Yeah, so that's all the different stuff they've done. Yeah, like I was saying, the reveal was a bit lackluster, but still a fun one, breaking the formula. Sometimes it's nice to have a formula break. But I'm going to give this one probably a D. I don't think it's F. I think just a low D as we get through is where I have it as and where I enjoy the episode the most. Probably won't rewatch it, but it was still a fun one, you know. That's why I like this one a little bit more than some of the other ones we've done. All right, and then going into the next episode, we have Foul Play in Funland. My lowest rated episode for the Scooby-Doo Where Are You? So this is one that's definitely going to be controversial because everybody loves Charlie because he's a creepy villain. He's really cool. But for me, I just didn't really care for him. I didn't really care for him. I cared for him. I liked him. I liked that he was creepy. But I feel like the overall episode structure I just didn't really care for. So the gang await the opening of the theme park while clam collecting on a nearby beach. But when the theme park's lights come on and the rides start running, when the park is supposed to be closed, they try to find out who is doing it. They discover the shenanigans are being caused by a strange man who walks like a torpedo. And that is Charlie the Robot, who was built by Mr. Jenkins to help Funland run. And so for me, this is just one of my lowest ranks. I can't really explain why, but I just feel like it was just a bit you know? How some moments were really high highs and then just really basic, just kind of running around, or the robot was built so there was no fun reveal with the villain. It was just kind of, hey, he was sabotaged, and that's pretty much it, you know? Like, the overall villain itself, he was nice and creepy, but I like when the villain talks or have like plans or have comedy moments with the gang. But for Charlie, he just kind of walked around. You know, it was definitely a bit kind of extra horror style because you couldn't really do anything about it because you're just a robot. So you just kind of kept walking like T-1000 style. Just couldn't really do anything about it. But overall, just not doing it for me. Which is why I rated a 4 out of 10 whenever I reacted to it, and that's also why it's probably going to go into low D for me. I don't want to put anything in F yet. I don't think there's anything really that I dislike that much that I want in F. Maybe like 1 or 2 episodes, but I think low D for Foul Play in Funland. I think I dislike it more than Never Ape and Ape Man, which is why one of those opinions, because I believe people like that one more. All right, and next, slowly getting there. The Backstage Rage. So I like this one definitely a little bit more than Foul Play in Funland. I rated this one a 5.5 out of 10 in my initial reaction. And in this one, the gang investigate an abandoned theater where they face a spooky phantom and his puppets, all connected to a counterfeiting operation. So this one was fun because it was just kind of a random one where, hey, you know, let's do a counterfeiting operation. Okay. And so we got spooky phantom Pietro. And just, I liked the interaction with the gang in this episode. I liked how things kind of all happened pretty fluidly and how things kind of went through and how they discovered things. It just, a fun one, which is why 5.5 out of 10. And it just one that I feel like I probably won't rewatch, but one that definitely was enjoyable for an episode. And I liked how kind of creepy styles Pietro was and how things happen. And also, Return of the Nurse Machine after a 2-episode absence. 3rd episode not to have an unmasking, just some trivia. And then 1st episode in which the villain is caught by the gang without any planning or forethought. The villain is caught through his executive actions from Shaggy and Scooby, which is another fun one because kind of cutting away from the formula a little bit, which is why I'm going to put it as a low C, 2nd place in C. Just feel like that's a good point for that one. And just going with my gut, you know, of how I enjoyed an episode. All right, going right through it. We're just going to try to don't go too slow with it. All right. Bedlam in the Big Top is my next one. This one I rated a 5 out of 10. This one was another fun one. Our first appearance of a clown in Scooby-Doo. There will be a lot of clowns later on. There's also the 10th episode of Where Are You? And we're almost through with the 1st season. So the gang stumble upon a circus that's supposedly haunted by a ghost clown who hypnotizes people with a gold coin. This one was fun. First appearance of Shaggy and Scooby getting hypnotized, which is pretty fun because they've been hypnotized a lot throughout the series as we go on. So this one was interesting because the way Fred kind of wants to rescue Shaggy and Scooby from their hypnotization and just really tries for it. Does all kinds of things. I just felt like it really was a nice scenes of desperation to make things happen and make things work out with the gang. And I just enjoyed that part of things of kind of showing off the gang's kind of bond with things, which I enjoyed. And so that's why I liked it. Another one where, didn't mention it, but another one where it's pretty obvious who the bad guy is, but it was still a fun episode. even if it wasn't fantastically fun. But I did like the way that the gang interacted with each other and how things happened in tandem with each other. Which is why Bedlam and the Big Top, I was thinking C2, but I think B3. I just enjoyed it a little bit more than these guys on the bottom, which is why it's going to be in B3. And now, one that's definitely going to be a little bit controversial, of course. Gaggle of Galloping Ghosts. I rated it a 4 out of 10 in my initial reaction. And this is one where it's fun because there's like 3 villains. It's also the first appearance of the meddling kids catchphrase. On their way to Franken Castle, the kids stop to get their fortunes told by a gypsy fortune teller who warns them that they will meet their doom if they go to the castle. They soon are greeted by Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and Wolfman on the castle grounds, who warn them away. So Dracula was somebody, yeah. So they were all the disguises of Big Bob Oakley. That's one of the things I didn't really like, is that they were all the same guy. It would have been so fun if it was just 4 different people all at once, that kind of thing. So that was just a bit basic. I did like the gang's interactions. I liked how they worked together, of course. Just one of the basic ones. One of the few episodes where no traps were made by Fred, but Shaggy and Scooby made 2 with mixed success. Second episode where Shaggy demonstrates his ventriloquism skills. And then Scooby randomly showing courage. And then the gang, one of the things I dislike the most is that the gang managed to capture Oakley twice as a werewolf and Dracula, but he ran away both times before being unmasked, which felt like very artificially padding their runtime, because we know at the end that Big Bob Oakley was all 3, but having him captured twice and then not unmasked was just felt like just really against the Scooby-Doo formula. Just really didn't do it for me on that one, which is why I just really didn't care for that, and why it was rated slow for me. I just feel like that they wasted a lot of time for this one, which is why probably gonna be low D. Not gonna put anything in the F just yet. There's only one episode that I think I disliked enough to go in F, but I think that might be the only one. Moving on, just gonna keep it simple. Scooby-Doo and a Mummy 2. So this is, for me, is one of the quintessential Scooby-Doo episodes. Their first appearance of a mummy. They have similar villains later on down the line. This one, episode 12 of the first season, the gang visits the Department of Archaeology where they see an ancient mummy. The mummy comes with a curse for any who removes him from his tomb. Shaggy actually puts an ancient coin in his pocket, and when the gang returns to the university, they find the mummy has come to life and is looking for the coin Shaggy has acquired. This is a fun one. Kind of reminds me of that Psych episode, A Million Years Dead. A fun episode that really had the gang at their most gangiest, of like going together. Shaggy does something, so like, okay, let's do something about it, that kind of thing. Just a fun episode, you know. That's why I rated a 6.5 out of 10 whenever I initially reacted to it, and just one of those quintessential Scooby-Doo episodes that I really come to think of, which is why for me I'm gonna give this one an A3. Just a good old-fashioned Scooby-Doo episode. I liked how things kind of worked together and how everybody kind of hung out. So the Mummy, another one, similar to last episode, where old Universal horror movies and how things, yeah. So, going with my gut after I do the premise and stuff like that is, I think it's an A3. It'd be a B1, but A3, just going with the gut. All right, and then next, just keep going with it. Which is which? Our first double team villain, and an episode that I did enjoy. It rated it a 6 out of 10, and one that I like the first double team villain. The zombie is one that's been used. The redesign has been used several times throughout the series in the future, and just one that's just a bit fun. So after coming home from a fishing trip, the gang run into a witch and a zombie who have been haunting the swamp and scaring everyone off. This is a fun one because it's our first real kind of main villains of Zeke and Zeb, who robbed an armored truck. So just kind of a bit more serious on crimes compared to like smuggling or counterfeiting, even though those are serious crimes. But first, we're like humans were involved, kind of evilness. So a little bit of trivia, just wanted to go over it real quick. So another appearance of the same sheriff compared to previous episodes, which I thought was hilarious. And then, of course, the zombie disguise was later used in Mamba Zombie, and as well as Mamba Wamba and the Voodoo Hoodoo. Definitely an interesting episode. I liked the double team villain. First real appearance of that. We're going to have a couple more double team villains by the time season 1 finishes, but one that really had a good of fun moments. And I like the double team villain really kind of helps split the gang up a little bit more to have fun interactions together, like Shaggy and Scooby being chased by one thing and then the other 3 being chased by the other one. You know, just have that kind of good mix is what I like the most about the double team villains, which is why they're usually weighted a little bit higher for me. Yeah, and seeing my first season. Yeah. So for me, which is which, I think I would put, it's rated at 6.5. My heart's saying B1. No, B2. Because I think I like it more than Mind Your Own Business and Bedlam and the Big Top, but I don't like it more than What a Night for a Night. So even if it's a 6.5, I think B2 would be a good one. Because I don't think it's A. Like, I feel like A is what I would rewatch. B is what I would rewatch maybe. C is eh. And D is probably not again. And F is go away. And then S is yes, sir, put it on my docket. Just give artificial rankings to that. So, speaking of yes, sir, put it on my docket, Go Away, Ghost Ship, my favorite episode of Scooby-Doo. Still one of my favorite episodes compared to the 3 seasons we've reacted to. I love the way Redbeard interacts with the gang. Because that's what I wanted from my villains. I want them to be more a part of things, be more kind of actual characters. And that's what I like the most. Like, that's why I like the Scooby-Doo movies themselves a lot. Because since you have that runtime, you can really know the villains and know the characters. Especially if you don't see them costumes most of the time, you can still see their interactions. Like, one of the things that comes to mind is the Hawaiian Scooby-Doo movie. Looking up, like I'm thinking up. And just the way that the funny moments that they interact with the villain in that one. And I'll be watching on the channel, but just the way that they kind of come to terms with that and how they talk to him and how he talks to them, that kind of thing. That's why a good movie for me, but why I also like this episode the most. The gang's interactions are fantastic. How Redbeard talks to them is fantastic. It's just really great stuff. The Scooby and the gang investigate freighters that are getting raided by the ghost of Redbeard, the pirate, and his crew. The crew also have fun interactions with the gang. They're just fantastic people. And that's why I was always so excited whenever I saw him in Monsters Unleashed, even though he didn't really have very many lines, but just such a fun character. One of the first villains that really kind of you felt like was an actual character, which is why it's going to be S for me, my first S. Probably my only S in Where Are You, from what I can tell from what we have left. But just such a fun one, and one that I really, really enjoyed, and I would definitely rewatch again. Which is why I rated an 8 out of 10 in my initial reaction. All right, and the next episode we have Spooky Space Kook. So this one I rated 5 out of 10 in my initial reaction, and in the premise, the gang investigating an airfield supposedly haunted by a ghostly alien with a cackling, shrieking laugh. So this one was a bit kind of hit or miss for me. That's why I rated 5 out of 10. It had a lot of enjoyable moments, but it still kind of had a bit of a basic style to it. So, just a mysterious alien, he had a creepy vibe. I liked the comedy with Shaggy and Scooby, the gang's interactions together, and some trivia. Yeah, so basically the villain kind of Reason is also another one where I kind of waited a little bit slower, but the villain just wanted to scare people away from the airfield so he can buy the land for cheap. So it's picked a super creepy alien outfit, and then that's it. A cool trivia, though, it's the last episode aired in 1969, in the 1960s decade as a whole. And Fred, Velma, and Daphne are scared of the shadows of Shaggy and Scooby. And that Fred agrees the gang should flee, even though that's not usually what that's usually Shaggy and Scooby's thing. And yeah, just a bit of a meh episode for me. People might enjoy this one, I'm not really sure, but for me, personally, I really didn't. Which is why I think, for me, I'm going to put it above that. Hang on, let me replay these ones. Yeah, that one's going to be up there. That one's going to be up there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's correct. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to switch around. Spooky Space Kook in D1. Galloping Ghosts, D2. Foul Play in Funland, D3. Decoy for Dognapper, D4. And Never Been Up Man in D5. Just rearrange them slightly just so I can see how I want them, you know. And that's a good rate right there. All right, and then going forward, let's look at what else we got. As we move on to the 2 more episodes. A Night of Fright is no delight. So this one was a bit of another one where it had some fun moments, and I liked the kind of another one similar to Gaggle of Galloping Ghosts, where it's kind of like a murder mystery style, where you have like an inheritance to win and like three suspects that just had a little bit of a fun moment. You know, due to the Scooby's heroics, he's included in the will of a millionaire. Along with the other heirs, he will only share in his fortune if he spends the night in the Colonel's haunted mansion. However, two green phantoms appear and attempt to frighten the heirs away. And these phantoms are the Green Ghosts, who are pretty popular Scooby-Doo villains, and ones that were different colored phantoms from the Scooby-Doo show episode, The Ghost of the Bad Humor Man, when they appear later. They also appear in the video game and a pup named Scooby-Doo, which is pretty cool, and also in the direct-to-video movies as well, so they definitely appear a lot. And I rated this one a 6 out of 10. This is also the second double team villain, forgot to mention that. I like the way that the gang interacts and how they kind of talk to and interact with the heirs of the episode, and how they're suspected and how they come to terms with who it is and what they're looking for, and just kind of also like that Scooby just, you know, hey, you're in the will for a millionaire. It's like, okay, let's go to his house and spend the night there. They're just so all about it. I just enjoyed this one a good amount. So A Night of Fright is no delight. I'm going to put, I think B2. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be A for me, because that's one where probably won't rewatch it, but it definitely had some fun times. I don't think it's as good as What a Night for Night. I just feel like this one's just going to stay in B1 because it's the pilot episode. It's the first one. But these guys, I think, is going to go ahead of Which is Which in B2. Yeah, my rankings are weird, but going with my gut on how I feel about that episode. All right, let's continue on. Just not going to... We are getting with the 17th and final episode of the first season of the Scooby-Doo show. That's Snow Ghost. So this one was a good finale episode. While taking a ski vacation, Scooby and the gang find themselves in the middle of suspicious activity in the form of a Yeti-resembling monster. So this one has some funny moments with the cast. I rated it a 6.5 out of 10. Definitely up there for one of my favorite episodes of the first season. It's the third double team villain as well, because it's That Snow Ghost as well as the... Yeah, so this is the third double team villain of the first season, which is Mr. Greenway and Mr. Leech, who helped as the Snow Ghost, trying to scare people away from their diamond and jewel smuggling operation. So another smuggling similar to some previous episodes we had. And it's a bit of a fun one, which is why I rated it a 6.5 out of 10. I liked how the gang interacted with each other. I like the different kind of locations. Our first snow episode as well for Scooby-Doo, which had some fun moments that way. For me, I definitely enjoyed this one. I probably wouldn't watch it again, but it's definitely probably going to be in B tier, because overall it was just enjoyable. So I think I'm going to put this one right. I think I'm feeling B3 or B2. Yeah, I think B3, because I think I like these two a little bit more than That Snow Ghost, even though I rated this one a 6.5 out of 10. Just thinking about it later, those kinds of things is where I like to put them. So that finishes off the first season of the Scooby-Doo show. So that finishes off the first season of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Just continuing on with things. Just gonna keep it a little bit simple. We don't, go crazy with it. But we are now starting with season 2. Starting off strong with Nowhere to Hide, which I rated a 7 out of 10. And definitely a great episode. I don't know if it's because of just differences between them, but I liked how creepy the villain was. I loved how he talked and interacted with the gang. The premise, just before I forget, on their way home from the malt shop, the gang encounters the ghost of Mr. Hyde, a known jewel thief sneaking into a spooky house. The house turns out to be the home of Dr. Jekyll, who fears he may be transformed into the ghost of Mr. Hyde. The gang begins searching the house for clues, pegging the maid as a likely suspect, but are pursued at every turn by a ghost. So this is another Universal Studios villain. I love the different moments. Helga, the maid, and just the interactions with her and the gang, and Hyde and Jekyll with the gang, because it's one of our first episodes where the villain kind of gives away he's the villain pretty much immediately. And that's kind of a fun one as well, of how things go, of like how they do things, really, of just completely different. Like, hey, I might be turning into Mr. Hyde. Oh, okay. Well, let's do something about that. And it's like, oh no, he's the villain. So I just had a lot of cool moments with that. Also, the first replacement of Daphne with Heather North. It was also the first time of the gang mention of the gang attending high school, and another weird food item for this episode. So a lot of good stuff happened in this episode, and overall pretty enjoyable one, and a good start for season 2, which is why for me, I think I'm gonna give this one an A. I just like the different interactions with the gang and how things happen. I think it would be a low A though. Not my favorite, not S or middle B, but low A, I think, is a good time for this episode. All right, and then moving on, we have Mystery Mask Mix-Up. I'm going to try to finish it pretty shortly here. So Mystery Mask Mix-Up is definitely a little bit of a weirder one. I rated it a 6 out of 10 for this episode. And the premise definitely buys a decorative and purportedly cursed mask in Chinatown, subsequently kidnapped by a pair of ghastly ancient Chinese figures. The rest of the gang trail the kidnappers to the temple of the evil Zen 2, who's apparently haunting the temple and wants to do away with the gang. So this is another one where it's just a bit of a weird episode. Just didn't really do it for me, to be honest. Even though I rated it a 6 out of 10 at the moment, it's just kind of thinking about it now, just get a bit eh. It was another double villain, kind of more like a triple villain because he had henchmen, but they didn't really have any speaking lines. But the motive was to steal a valuable gold mask to contain evidence that has the names and dates of their shipments for their smuggling operations. I think I also got burnt out by the smuggling, which is why this one probably going to rank a little bit lower. For me personally, it's a bit kind of eh. Some trivia. Scooby and Velma both understand Chinese. Scooby's heard speaking it when he's arguing with the owner of a dry cleaner, and Velma claims that she can read in Chinese and presumably speak it as well. And then, whilst not yet recon, Daphne's wealth is implied in this episode, being able to buy an ornate golden mask. And then, something else interesting, Zen 2 is the second villain to attempt to kill members of the gang after the Snow Ghost. The villains use explosives in an attempt to kill them, as well as keep Daphne and trap Velma and Fred captive in a secret room that even without the gag would have made her suffocate in less than a few hours. And then Joe Rubin Conspiracy says that this is one of their favorite episodes. And then Shaggy breaks the fourth wall. Yeah, so overall, a fun episode, but not really my favorite episode. Which is why I think I'm going to put this one, even if it's a couple people's favorite episode, I'll probably put this one high C. C1 for this one. Just need that little bit, That's why it's not going to be like a low B or around there B or a low B, but I think C1 would be a good for this episode. All right, and then next time we have Scooby's Night with a Frozen Fright. So an episode I really, really didn't care for. I liked the villain. I liked how things happened with him. So let me just go over the premise. While surf fishing, Shaggy catches, of all things, a caveman frozen in a block of ice, which was lost at sea after sliding off the deck of a ship. The kids take the frozen Neanderthal to Oceanland, the local aquarium. When they come back to the aquarium later that night to retrieve Shaggy's fishing pole, they find that the ice has melted and the caveman is now apparently alive and roaming the grounds. So this one had a bit of a fun moment, but for me, I rated it a 4 out of 10. I also think it's my least favorite episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I think this is going to be my only F. I said that there was going to be one. I think this is it. I just really didn't care for this episode. It just a bit basic and just a bit kind of really eh. And that's just, of course, personal opinion, like I've said, but just really didn't care for it. The professor, he only became the caveman because he wanted to get rid of his rival professor and take credit for his marine life communicator. That's the big villain reveal. Just a bit kind of on all fronts, Just really didn't care for it. And yeah, so I'm not just gonna mention this anymore. My dogs are freaking on the background, play fighting. Yeah, so I did like the way that the gang towered up and how strong Vilma was, but that's pretty much the only thing I really liked about this episode. I just really didn't care for it, which is why it's gonna probably be my first and only F for Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? All right, and then moving on, we have Jeepers, It's the Creeper, a quintessential Scooby-Doo episode, rated a 7 out of 10, has the most physical violence in a Scooby-Doo show. Just Jeepers was such a great character. And local school dance at the Rural Barn is hugely disrupted by the Creeper, a zombie-like figure who is seen at night robbing banks in town. The gang searches the woods and countryside for clues while being chased by the Creeper and encountering an eccentric old hermit who wants their company. Okay, so Jeepers, It's the Creeper. Fun one. Love that it's the most physical violence in Scooby-Doo episode. I had to write that down in my notes. 7 out of 10, but I think it's going to be, honestly, S here. It is such a fun one. I love the way the gang interacts with each other, how crazy things get. It goes balls to the wall, goes to 11, that kind of style. It was really fun. And all it really was to steal money from his bank without anyone knowing his identity. That's all the villain reveal was. But he just goes crazy with it, like insane, which is why I think I'm honestly gonna thinking about it more. Put it on S2. Our second S, I really didn't think that was gonna happen because I rated it a 7 out of 10. But I just think go with your gut. S2. Just love that physical violence in Scooby-Doo. And just how they do it with the cartoon kid style. All right, in the next episode, another strong one. We have Haunted House Hang Up at 6.5 out of 10. This one was another fun one because it's another set of creepy villains with the Headless Horseman. And just an interesting one where the Mystery Inc. is headed to a rock festival but are lost on some back roads when they run into a farmer who warns them about a haunted mansion up ahead. They head up to the mansion where Headless Spectre roams the grounds, and the gang must find out who's behind it and why. So this is another episode in Where Are You? Where they kind of just stumble upon the mystery, which I always think is fun too. Like, hey, don't go there. There's a haunted mansion. So, okay, let's go there. Let's go see what's up with that haunted mansion. So that's why always a bit fun when they do that, and why I enjoyed those episodes a little bit more as well, because they kind of just stumble upon it. They're not sent somewhere by like a rich uncle or anything like that. So in this one, we have two villains again. We have the Headless Spectre and the Phony Phantom, which is a fun one as well, just because it's a bit basic, but literally just to scare away thieves was their main villain interactions, and the Phony Phantoms was to steal the family fortune. So some trivia. Shaggy's disapproval of shaving cream ads may result from negative remarks on his goatee. Oh, I forgot about that. That's funny. Oh, and also, yeah, one of the things I just trying to use the trivia to re-jog my memory, because I was going to write down different paragraphs and stuff, but I thought it would be too much work, so I was just going to go with my gut. This is the first instance in the franchise where the main ghost, the Headless Spectre, was not the actual villain trying to scare people away to cover up some kind of criminal/illegal activity. It's also the first instance in which the person under ghost disguise spontaneously reveals himself rather than being unmasked by the gang upon having their plot foiled. Yeah, I think that's also one of the reasons why I like this episode, because of 6.5 out of 10, just because it definitely went against the grain a little bit for how we knew Scooby-Doo previously. For me personally, I think this one, even though it's a 6.5 out of 10, I think it's a high C, low B. So I think I'll put it low B just because of how I'm feeling. I think I'm going to put it right in the middle, because I think these three are definitely my favorite in the Bs. Oop, my bad. And I think these are my low Bs. So I don't think it's C quality, but I think it's B quality for sure. Haunted House Hang Up. All right, then moving on, 3 episodes to go. A Tiki Scare is no fair. So this one, going back down for me, of the last 3 episodes of season 2 were just kind of not really for me, but still had some fun moments. Tiki Scare is no fair is one of those first ones where it's just kind of overall. But the Mystery Inc.'s package Vacation of Hawaii is interrupted by a witch doctor who warns both locals and tourists of the coming wrath of the god Mono Tiki Tia. So this one was just a bit kind of, like I said. So let me just go through it. So we have a couple people that were the villain. We have some henchmen, but it was basically to scare people away so they wouldn't uncover their pearl poaching operation. There's another basic Scooby-Doo villain kind of style. And one of the defined settings, going to Hawaii, that kind of thing. And also the first time they've gone to Hawaii, slowly making their way throughout the country. Also, the second episode of season 2 did not have, the only episode of season 2 did not have any chase music. And they used a different card scene transactions. Also, the second episode after decoy for Dodnapper to have a witch doctor as primary villain. Maybe I just don't like witch doctors. Yeah, I just really didn't care for this one. Yeah, just a bit kind of, Just the villains, the gang's kind of interactions with each other, how they caught the villain's kind of motivations, just really didn't do it for me. Which is why I don't think it's F, but I think I'll probably give it a D. I think, to be honest, I would be right there. Because I think DK4 Dognappers did it first, so I think that one would be above it, and then Tiki Scare is no fair, and second to last on T. All right, 2 left. And these ones are going to be hit or miss, depending. So Who's Afraid of the Big Bag Werewolf? So similar style to the Vampire Frankenstein, just a big mix of characters, but on a camping trip, the gang encounters glowing and red eyes staring at them, accompanied by an eerie wolf howl. Falling tracks to an abandoned mill, they get caught up in a smuggling plan, and a werewolf. This is a werewolf that doesn't look like your typical werewolf, but still a fun character. I like the way the gang talk to each other. I like the villain. It's kind of funny because the motive is to scare people away from their sheep hustling operation, which I think is just pretty funny. Just had just such a random like, what? That's what you said? What? Come on. And then this is also the first time and only time for this series that Mr. Machine is seen but not driven. And it's also the first time that Fred, Velma, and Daphne find the ghost before Shaggy and Scooby. And it's similar, it's derived from the name of the Big Bad Wolf's theme song from the 1933 Disney short film, The Three Little Pigs. And then also a fun one, the scene where the werewolf stalks an oblivious Shaggy and Scooby's like an homage to the film Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. So I just think it's just a bit interesting, of how they did things. I liked how the werewolf didn't look like a typical werewolf. Just had a little bit of a fun moment. That's why I rated it a 6 out of 10. Definitely a little bit weaker on terms of sides. So I think I'd probably give this one a high C. I don't think it's B tier, but I think a high C would be a good one for that as we finish off these episodes. And just gonna last one, go right into it. We have Don't Fool with the Phantom, the last episode. Trying to get to about an hour for this as we go through. So Don't Fool with the Phantom, I liked. He was definitely more one of those villains that had a little bit more depth to him, as in he was huge. And the last episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Fred, Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby-Doo are contestants on Johnny Sane's dance game show. The TV show is interrupted by a figure identified as the Wax Phantom. The gang trails the Phantom to the local wax museum, hoping to find clues and solve the mystery of the Wax Phantom before he causes more trouble. So this one I rated a 4.5 out of 10. Just didn't care for him. I loved the way the villain was. He was nice and creepy, but just his interactions of being the manager of the news station that they were at, the station just in general. So it was basically just to embezzle money from the TV station and frame Mr. Grisby for it and his disappearance. So just a bit kind of basic with it. Mr. Grisby definitely, it was a bait and switch with how creepy Mr. Grisby looked, who looked like a character we've had before, but still just a bit kind of, So this episode aired on Halloween, and also the last regular use of a chase song until Pump named Scooby-Doo. Also the first mention of the gang's parents. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. And then also the first time Shaggy's directly offered a Scooby Snack. He ate one and then decoyed for Dog Napper and Tiki Scar is no fair, but first time he was really offered one. And it's also an early example of the jump on Velma joke that became a running gag on Be Cool Scooby-Doo. Yeah, so for me, 4.5 out of 10. I think it's just a little bit of a basic one. I enjoyed it though, but it's just kind of a one, which is why I think I'm going to put it right in the middle of D, between Galloping and Foul Play in Funland. I think these two are definitely more fun, but that's going to do it. That's going to be my ranking for Where Are You? Let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, and which ones you agree or disagree with. But just going down the line, my S tier episodes are Go Away Ghost Ship at number 1, my top favorite episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And then Jeepers It's the Creeper at number 2. And then going to 8 tier, we have 4. We have Clue for Scooby-Doo at number 1, What the Heck's Going On at number 2, Scooby-Doo and the Mummy 2 at number 3, and Nowhere to Hide at number 4. And then rounding off B has our most, besides D, What a Night for a Night, A Night of Fright is No Delight, Which is Which, Haunted House Hang-Up, That's No Ghost, Mind Your Own Business, Bedlam in the Big Top. And then C, we have 4, Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Werewolf, Mystery Mask Mix-Up, Hassle in the Castle, and the Backstage Rage. D, we have another 7, Spooky Space Spook, Gaggle of Galloping Ghosts, Don't Fool with the Phantom, Foul Play in Funland, Decoy for Dog Napper, Tiki Scar is No Fair, Never Ape and Ape Man. And then our only F episode, the one that we dislike the most, Scooby's Night with a Frozen Fright. So that's going to be my quintessential, as you could call it, Scooby-Doo Where Are You rankings. Even if the numbers are all over the place, this one is definitely how I feel about those episodes. Just thinking about them, molding on them, and putting them as a letter grade. So if you wanted to be technical with it, this would be a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As in out of 5, that kind of thing. So this would be like a 0 out of 5, 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. If you want to go technical with it. But for me, I'm going to write them down and maybe I can compare them later as favorite episodes and things like that and do like a bigger list. Yeah, so that's just how I feel about Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I will see you guys next time. My next tier ranking will probably be at the end of this year, where I'll be doing the new Scooby-Doo movies. And then and then after that, every time we finish a entire series of episodes, so The Scooby-Doo show tier ranking will be in February after I finish the new Scooby-Doo show. And that's just how we're going to do it. Every time we finish off a series, we'll do that ranking. I will see you guys December 30th for the new Scooby-Doo movies tier ranking. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.